Man, I love it. Cause the same feeling. I wish a hip hop artist would have came to my school. Like, so we're going to talk about mental health and how to, find a way through mental health and really like tap into like your purpose. So you see a lot of kids coming in there, the unchurched. So I tell myself I'm like a missionary in public schools. I go in there as the cool dude, but you can't really talk about God, but I connect people to the fruits of the Spirit. Okay, matter of fact, let's throw a concert. Let's throw a concert for these people at night, after hours. Get free range to talk about everything. Hey man, I know y'all see me, I said the numbers with this, and I said I've been here, and I've done this, but a big part of my life and how I'm able to be in front of you guys right now is because I gave my life to Christ. People are like, oh shoot. Oh no, this ain't no bait and switches. But it's not. We here. We having a genuine, authentic moment, and we still gonna have fun. So yeah, a lot of my following online comes from schools. I wanna say, on Instagram I got about maybe 43,000 people who follow me now. The majority come from schools, and the modern day bullying, not seeing themselves worthy. Kids don't see themselves worthy. Everybody hitting the vape now. The vape. Drugs. Drugs are big in schools. A lot of people won't say it, but I'll say it. Fentanyl is knocking a lot of the kids out. I had a experience with a guy in school. I keep him anonymous, but man, he almost died on fentanyl. He was like, man, if you didn't come to the school assembly and kind of tell me that I have purpose and kind of help unwire my mind to these things, bro, I'll probably be dead somewhere in somebody, car or something, overdosed. And those are the stories that I cling to and give me energy. And there was another story. This girl had slipped my friend a note and said she wasn't even gonna come to school, but something told her to come to school, and we happened to be there doing an assembly or whatever. She was like, man, I was giving myself one more day and I was gonna commit suicide. I'm like, dang, this is why we do this. This is bigger than being famous. This is bigger than, what the world calls clout. Bro, this is a soul mission. If I can't say Christ or Jesus in these schools, that's okay. But I'm gonna let my life speak, and I'm gonna let these people connect to the fruits of the Spirit and be so down to earth that you want to come to my concert and see why I'm this down to earth. You find out it's Jesus. You see a lot of conversion, man. So when people see me out there on the school tours, and I'm out there on the whole soul mission, trying to get things together. Cause I'm after, like Lecrae, said back then, after the music stops, what's next? I'm worried about where your soul is going, cause we on borrowed time. So yeah, man, that's what I do. I'm a missionary in public schools.
Well, when I came back from up north, St. Ignace, all I had with me was my bass, my combo amp, and clothes. That's all I had. Oh, and I used to drive a Rabbit. It was a blue Rabbit. I don't know if you remember the Rabbits, little box cars. That was my go-to car. It got me. It was just beautiful in the winter. Anyways, great in gas. I was beaten up. I mean, I was really beaten up. There was days I was beaten up by demons, literally just demons. I would see little demons running around. I understand. I'm certain people aren't going to understand this, but that's just me. I don't expect them to understand it. But the truth of the matter is, I was in a place where I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be in a demonic frame of mind, that spirit. And it's not a good spirit. Although I'm crying out earnestly, Lord, help me here, help me here, help me here. I always thought when you got saved that the light will turn on right then and there. I always thought that. It's like, okay, what's going to happen here? Nothing's moving. Nothing's going. Where are you at? I'm supposed to be saved. And it doesn't happen that way. It really doesn't. Because there's so much inside a person, especially the addicted person, or the person that's, that's trying to fill their void or has a lot of things going on in the world, right, at the point in time where they're drowned out and they can't see clearly. It's all this stuff just coming this way and that way. So it's not going to turn on that quick. It's not. And it took me time to understand that. So all that time, there was so much emotions, so much struggle, so much pain. I remember I was still in the rebellious stage. Although I got saved, I was still in that rebellious stage of, not so much of, I knew that I wasn't supposed to treat people really bad, I treated people really bad. It wasn't good, Dan. It really wasn't, especially girls. There was a few that I contacted, and I gave. I apologized to them, and the hurt. It's just so. That pain and that struggle I went through, I was being torn by that and all the things that I did, and it added up. But God was always with me, always. And I just had to understand that. I had to get to the point of like, where are you? I know you're there, I know you're there. You got saved. So I'd go time and time with Dave, and he would coach me. And he would tell me, listen, this is not going to happen overnight, brother. It's not. But as you grow, and sure enough, it did. It started coming out. And I tell you what, the pain and the struggle, I can't emphasize the pain of what he took out of me at that time, what he pulled everything out of me. Being lonely. You have no one. You're just alone. And you felt alone, and with all this anger and frustration and these feelings. And it's just not a good thing. But, so that's what I was going through in that time with my sister. She saw it, I saw it. And I believe that's why I stayed working all the time, because I worked 24/7. I worked, 80 hours a day, and just working and working. And I'm glad I did, It wasn't for the money. It was more so for my own self-building. I needed to build. And I believe that's where God was taking me. Like, you need this time alone. I need to find you alone so I can pull all this stuff out of you. And for me, that's for me. So that's where I was at. Through all that transition, I was being pulled, grabbed, tugged.
I got completely out of the hippie movement as soon as I met Jesus. I wasn't one of these people that was like 1 foot in hippie, 1 foot in church. Man. That was it. I got me one of them long dresses and no makeup, and I turned into a little holiness girl. But God got us out of that too. Even though you're walking with the Lord, you go down the wrong road. If you're serious with him, he will turn you around. And it doesn't take a big thing to do it. He'll just open your eyes to this, and you'll see the hypocrisy or the lies. It's called discerning of spirits. It's a gift from God. And I try to use those gifts God gave me. Knowledge, wisdom. Those things are great to have in your life. And our enemy is Satan. It's not people. So we have to be prepared to fight a spiritual battle, not an earthly battle.
I moved to Michigan the year of 2012 to pursue basketball, and I always was a musician, but had to kind of put the musician life on the back burner to pursue basketball. So I wanted to play for Michigan State, so I tried out for state. But Draymond was there. He was always a beast, always talk. He had that mouth, but I like that. That kind of not pulls me out of my character, but brings a different side out of me. Yeah, it was fun, and I thought it was gonna be promising. I thought I was going. I didn't get a call back like everybody else did, so I was scrambling. Last week, I needed to find a school, so on my way back to Indianapolis, we stopped in this little town called Benton Harbor, Michigan. In Benton Harbor, Michigan, if you know like I know, ain't nothing there but that Wendy's on. If you coming off Napier, nothing's there, but Benton Harbor gave me my start, and Benton Harbor is like a home away from home. So I stopped there and I went to LMC, Lake Michigan College. They must have had an open gym. It was a lot of players from everywhere there. And I was like, Lord, I don't want to go home and empty-handed. My mom's already thinking I'm staying up in Michigan. And my cousin, if I don't get a scholarship or do anything, he wants me to come to ISU with him. ISU is not, Indiana State University it's not my field. So stepped in LMC, open gym, and I was like, it's my time to shine. I was grabbing all the rebounds, doing all the right things, shooting. Right when I walked off that floor, I'll say after the third or fourth game, Coach Schaefer's like, I love your game, and if you haven't committed anywhere, we want you to be a Red Hawk. And it was history from there. I signed my letter of intent. I went back home, told my mom, she was crying, told everybody in the neighborhood, they were happy. And that was kind of like my start in Michigan. You grow tough playing on the neighborhood courts. Like, yeah, we play AAU, but being in the neighborhood and playing neighborhood ball where they smacking you and everything, where you be a chump to call a foul, it made me stronger. So when I did play organized for college, it was like, man, these little hits, they don't hurt. Because I've been smacked across my face, my back, scars on my chest with a shirt on. That made me stronger, made me tough. And I used to always play with people older than me and that were taller than me. I hit like a small growth spurt. I hit a big growth spurt, I would say sophomore or junior year. And I'm grabbing every rebound. Yeah, double. I miss it, man, I miss it.
I would have dreams where, one in particular, I'll give you the last one, where I was sleeping. I could never sleep in my own bed, never. I would always sleep on the couch, leave the Christian TV on, and have my book. I was always have my Bible out. And it was at a trailer. It was a trailer park. And so one day, I decided to sleep in my bed. So I started sleeping in my bed. And maybe a few weeks into it, I started feeling comfortable. That's when I knew that I was relying more on Him, because the fear was going away. And I was at peace. He was giving me peace. And there was one day, I remember it was a vision. It wasn't a dream. I could see, it was almost like I was in a dream, but it wasn't, it was a vision. And I seen these hands come out like this. And all I seen was hands, and it was illuminating. And He says, take this. And there was a box, a square box. And He says, take this, put this at your feet. And that's all He said. And I'm like, okay. So I take it. And remember, I'm in this vision or dream. I walk out in the living room. And if you know a trailer, it only has one corridor. So I walk out in the living room. I set it on the floor. And it was a box. And this box shot out. As soon as I set it down, I went up like this, and it shot out lightning. It shot out lightning bolts everywhere, just lightning. like lightning bolts, like static, if you ever seen static, like that. But it was so powerful, it was so immense. It pulled me back. I went back on the couch like this, and it scared me. It scared me so much that I ran out the door. And now's the time where I told you, I'm like, I don't need this anymore. You know, I can't deal with this. That was the main dream. That's probably the final thing of saying, I'm scared. I don't know what this. I'm certain he was supposed to give me a message, and I'm certain that this object that he was giving me, he was supposed to show me something, and I was supposed to take in. And I was scared. So I went back to that, and then I moved in with my brother, and that's what happened then. Is when I moved in with my brother, I started going back to the you know, I was like, oh, okay, I don't need it. She scared me, you know. I should have prayed more and said, listen, Lord, I need more of you. I want to understand this, but I didn't. It just scared me that much. I went back to fearing, and I shouldn't have. And through that time, then I went back to the bars and started drinking again. And that led me up to 2011.
I had that giant Bible. So I was reading it, and I started reading it in the Gospels. So I read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, got into Acts, and before I got through Acts, I knew that the Holy Spirit was real and I needed it. It points out that Jesus had brothers and sisters. And that means that Mary did not remain a virgin all her life. And that the Lord would just open these things to my mind and show it to me. The thing with the Bible is that if you're a believer, it's open to you. But if you're not a believer, it's slammed shut, and you have to ask God to open it to you. So as I was seeking Him and looking for Him, I could understand it and understand what was being said. Whereas it's a book that is layer upon layer upon layer. So you read one thing one year, you turn around and read it a few years later, and it means the same thing in the words, but your spirit understands it on a different level. So as I was reading the Bible, that was the only book I ever read until just recently. I had only read the Bible, and people would say, oh, you got to read this book because it says that all you got to do is say it, and it's yours. Praise it, and it's yours. And all these things were negative to how I want to live my life with God. I don't want Him to serve me. I serve Him.
It was mainly, like I said, from 92 to 96, 93, 92, 96. I was mainly traveling. I was traveling on the road a lot. So my days, I would get up, and towards the end of my days, I would buy a pint, and I would drink the pint. And then I'd go to my gig. Then I would order another shot and probably a chaser. And then I would start my drinking, and I would order, that's all I would drink is hard liquor. So Coke and Jim or anything, any of the 3 J's, I would do that on a constant basis. And I would have to have it maybe, oh my goodness, maybe 8. I mean, I would really have to have that many just to get my tolerance up. So that was my daily, and I would do this daily. I started with beer. I could drink a beer, but it just didn't give me that tolerance. So I went to alcohol, and that's where it kicked in. I needed that fix. No, I didn't smoke so much. I borrowed smoke. I borrowed a couple smokes here and there. I think I only bought a pack in my whole life, but I never really. No, I used to smoke pot when I was younger, but I just didn't do anything besides that. I mean, it didn't really do too much for me. But I got into a lot of other drugs. Should I elaborate? Or I got into Coke, and I think that's the hardest thing. On crack, that too. Crack didn't do too much for me, but the coke did. But then I got my heart. One day it just, I was just freaking out. And I remember I was living in Lansing. I remember one day I went out to the porch and I sat down. I'm like, Lord, if you relieve me of this pain and you heal me from this, I will never do this again. And all night long, I stayed up till like 5 o'clock as a coke. And after that, I threw it in the toilet bowl, and I didn't touch it since. But started drinking still. So all these things tied in with the coke, man. Everything. I mean, I'm talking anger tied in with the drinking, the lying. I used to lie. Constant. I was a compulsive liar, and that was part of the hating with people. I always thought maybe I guess the word arrogance. I always thought I would have to be, something better, and I wasn't. I was pretending. It was a false pretense. That's all it was. So all this tied in with my drinking, all this with my rebellious. So all that, if you can imagine all this, what God had to pull out of me, I'm probably missing a few words here that I was. But as you get the meaning, so all this stuff he had to pull out, and all because of the rebellious state, of what I saw, and I took in so much, and I thought, well, the only way I can drown this out is the only way I know how is what I saw and what I experienced in my past, which is drinking. That's all I saw was drinking. My family drank and everything drank, and I thought it was a good thing, And it's just, that's where it was. And so I built it up. Okay, I'll start drinking. And I'll add this to it. I'll add this to it. I'll add this to it. Next thing you know, I got a whole big bag just dragging along, and it pained a lot of people because I hurt a lot of people, and I'm forgiven for that. I understand that, but it reminds me of what I don't want to do. It reminds me that I don't want to do that anymore. I don't even choose to do that anymore. I don't even think about doing that anymore. What I want to do is be a better person, a better man, not only for myself, but for my family, my kids. Show them how to become a godly person so they can grow up to be godly people as well. And they can teach their children and their children and so forth, like God intended it for.
I had to study the word. I used to go on fast. I used to carry, so they used to call me preacher man in high school. So sophomore year, they used to call me preacher man. I used to have a small black Bible that a friend bought me that I used to carry in my back pocket. They're like, there go preacher man, Kiwi. So they would make fun of me too. Like, cause I was I was a cool dude, but I also was trying to be set apart in a Christian fashion. So at the lunch table, I would have like my little, I guess, cheesy moments to them where I would just put my Bible on the table and just be reading. And I'm like, man, I don't know, it's cringe to them, but it helped me a lot be set apart. And the same people who laughed at me in high school, are the same people years down the line who asked me to pray for them because they saw the works that God was doing in my life. So, I had to learn all that stuff. Like, the King James was tough, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I had to get the New Living and then go back to the King James. That was tough, man. Trying to get the word of God in my heart and in my mind. But eventually we got there, and we still learning. Like, I don't know all of the Bible. I'm still still trying to truck through it, man. But yeah. Steven, when I first got to Grand Rapids, he took me under his wing. So I used to go with Steven everywhere, Steven Malcolm. I used to go to his tours, his shows, and kind of shadow him. And I was still doing shows and stuff, but Steven was more advanced in where his career was. So I used to just hop in the car whenever we go places. And then Steven got, he got big, man. Like, he got big. And this is around the time he started, he got signed in 2015 or 16 to Ivy Avy. And he needed a DJ to go on Winter Jam. Now, they put him on Winter Jam fast. He needed a DJ, and Beacon Lights DJ, which was Mark Evans, was like, man, I'll go with you. And Beacon let him go, so Beacon's without a DJ. And I'm like, Beacon don't got a DJ. I got these turntables that I was gonna have a DJ. I took these turntables. I was like, Beacon, I got these turntables. I don't know too much about DJing, but like, let's learn this thing together. Beacon gave me my first shot at really touring as an artist, but I was his DJ, and he would let me do 2 songs. But Beacon, he introduced me to the schools. He introduced me to, camps that would ultimately introduce me to other camps. So if I can give any advice to any artists out there, it's okay to serve sometimes. Not sometimes, it's a blessing to serve. You have a blessing in serving. So I knew that one day I would eventually break off from Beacon, but I made Beacon shows better just by being the best servant I could be. So I was serving Beacon. We did 50 shows a year for like 4 years. Then, man, I ended up having the kid, and then kind of had to step back a little bit, but people knew me from the schools. And
I really like Psalm 23. It's one of my favorites. It's not about death. It's about how to walk through life. He'll put you down near the valley. He'll give you water. He'll feed you. He'll take you through all these things. And it's all about life. It's not about death. We walk through the valley of shadow of death because the devil is always trying to get us. So he says he'll lead you by still waters. He'll let you rest on green pastures. He'll put your table in the presence of the enemy. Who's my enemy? And who's my table? My table is eating the Word of God. And who's my enemy? We know who he is, Satan. And we can enjoy and eat the Spirit. And then it says, and he will bless me all the days of my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever. I know it's a big funeral scripture, but it's to me, it's how you walk with Jesus.
Great. Cut.
Cut.
Alcohol was always in my family. I was in a dark, dark, dark place. So at that time, I planted a seed, and that seed was, I'm gonna die at the age of 25.
I'm old enough to have been in the first wave of hippies. The Vietnam War was raging. Friends were coming home dead. And most of us just said, I'm checking out. And that's what we did. And everything went up in flames.
My dad was a kingpin, big dealer. Yeah, his lifestyle landed him in prison. A lot of older people around me in the neighborhood put guns in my hands. If your mind isn't elevated beyond that atmosphere, you get sucked into it.
And later on that night, I started having convulsions. Then the Lord said, and if you do die, this is what will happen. He showed me the future, and he gave me options.
God called me out, says, Arthur, he says, come here.
I didn't give up when I should have gave up.
I knew it was God.
But the best thing is I have Jesus to lead me there. This is for his glory.